right, we'll call the Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee meetings to order. There's three of us here, missing Bill Petty and Pete Stresser. No public comment signed up for. So minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna move on to the budget. Miss Phoebe, would you like to walk us through this?
I can, or the sheriff can do it,
Okay.
and I can add any answers,
Yeah,
or if there's any
we can
questions.
kind of do it together if you want, and I'm hoping y'all are looking at the same thing I am. I'm starting with the sheriff's budget, which is 54110. I got that up front.
Yes,
You should. All right, so if you'll flip over to page 8 of 8, we'll work backwards, because what I want you to notice is the total operating budget is up 13.6%. But if you deduct the third year lease of the 10-year total lease for Axon, then that gets us down to the 5% that were the guidelines that we were given through the budget committee, and then working with the mayor and Phoebe. The amount for that third year lease was not counted toward the total operating cost, so that gets us within the 5% cut that we were asked to follow. And then working backwards from page 1 through 7, basically what you're seeing there is us moving money around internally from one line item to another and cutting bits and pieces here to get us down to that 5% mark. So there's really not a lot that I would want to mention, other than to tell you that we did reclass the civilian position that was formerly held by Keith Chapman, who was our chief pilot. He is now reserved. When he retired, we are reclassing that civilian position back to a sworn position. So just moving the money from one pot of money to the other pot of money on the personnel side. And that affects the total current positions that we have. It's a tit for tat. We're not adding any new positions. So, if you want to go through every line item, we can, where you'll see increases and decreases, but the bottom line is, absent the Axon lease agreement, it all balances out to a 5% reduction in total operating costs. Did I say that right, Phoebe? Is there anything you want to add?
Yes, sir.
Matt or?
So on Axon, explain that again. So year 3 of lease purchase agreement, revised fiscal year 26, 10-year.
Sure. So the very first contract we entered into with Axon was for body cameras, in-car cameras, and tasers. And that was a 5-year contract. So the next budget year after that was the first year I came into office, was that 5-year contract. The very next budget year, our records management software was at end of life. And so Axon offers a state-of-the-art records management software that includes a drone program, encompasses the body cameras, the in-car cameras, all of those technologies, trying to get everything under one umbrella, if you will. So we renegotiated the contract to include the records management software, and extended that over a period of, I think it was 11 years initially. And basically what we're doing is buying tomorrow's technology at today's price. So we locked into a fixed amount over the period of 11 years, and then we'll get all of the upgrades and everything that comes with that, including the hardware, the firmware, the hardware, the software, and the taser updates, camera updates, anything that occurs within that time period will be encompassed in that new contract that we negotiated.
Any penalties if you break that contract before 11 years?
Say it again?
Any penalties if you break that contract before 11 years?
I don't recall that in the contract, but I don't think so.
No, there's not. We do have a provision in there that should you not fund it in future fiscal years, the contract terminates.
Yes.
So it's based on your funding it for each year going forward.
Okay.
So you do have that ability to terminate.
So an act of the county commission could break it, but the sheriff's got to follow through with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Again, no new positions in here, other than that one reclass from civilian to sworn. And I'm happy to answer any questions about any specific line items that you have. And you see the justification or notes out to the side there as well.
Pay raise for the deputies?
I was just gonna ask that, yeah.
4%,
That's across the board.
yes,
What about civilians?
same thing.
How is, hiring going right now? What does that look like?
Fantastic. As of yesterday, the only positions that I had that didn't have names on them were 5 in the whole organization.
Even in the
Five-
jail?
I had 5 positions without names on them. Now, we are moving 4 people over. Monday, we moved 4 people over from jail to roadside. And we've got an internal investigation that's probably gonna result in termination, so I'm probably gonna lose 2 of those. So somewhere around 7 vacancies that I don't have names on. Staffing is phenomenal.
What about the jail staff? Cause it's been my experience, that oftentimes in the middle of the night, you've got one person booking. And, I think it's a little overwhelming for one person to have to do what they have to do back there. Cause it's like a domino effect, right?
I don't disagree, but we're not adding any personnel. That's the direction we were given. I mean, we need, honestly, I need personnel across the organization. I mean, we're struggling in our sport services, particularly with evidence, which is up 300%, over 300%. We went to the lab yesterday, the day before, we took in 130 something pieces of evidence and 137 and brought back. Took 130, brought back 137. Took 130 and brought back 137. So that basically, I mean, we're out of room. We don't have enough people to process it. I mean, it's ridiculous, but we're doing the best we can. And we're behind on, we continue to be behind on expungements in the records division. Archives is a absolute nightmare, and we've got to take everything that's in the archive building and move it over to the county archive because we got to move everything on the site closest to where the old special ops building was. We got to move all of that into the archives building so they can start construction on the jail. So we're doing the best we can.
So you're down 7 people roughly, give or take, what you said. So how many do you really need? 10, 20, 30?
Well, I can't, obviously I didn't prepare any justification on that because I knew we weren't gonna ask the personnel. But particularly, on the support side, I know we need some help and, we'll definitely be coming back next year and looking at that. So.
Okay.
Jeff, on page 3, they're not big dollars. I just want to understand the logic behind it. For maintenance and repair services.
Yes.
So it says last year's actual was 32.7, and then the department proposes 25. I'm imagining, and then there's a similar thing with towing where the number's lower than what actual is. Generally, those costs are going up. What's the logic on the reduction there?
You want to address that,
Which,
Jennifer?
I'm sorry, which line are we looking
You're
at?
talking about maintenance, right?
Yeah, maintenance.
On page 3.
It'd be that for 533,500.
You're talking about building maintenance?
So that line specifically, when we first received the money, was for what we call the Beasley building, plus a little bit at the courthouse for some of the camera systems and our range. So now that the Beasley building is no longer there, we have a new special ops building up on the hill. That second line below there is the new special ops building. So you'll see a $68,000 for the special ops. So in an effort to reduce funds for the 5%, we took some of that range, the money that we had in the Beasley range and court services, and reduced that.
Okay.
Because the Beasley building is no longer there.
Gotcha.
So,
Makes sense.
yes.
And then on page 4, just data processing supplies. So our actual cost was 120, but the proposed is for 98, so it's $22,000 reduction. Just what's the logic there?
So the bulk of that you'll see over to the right, we transferred money within. So you'll see that 139 that was budgeted in there. We've moved that down to a lower line 431. So again, a lot of this is kind of housekeeping.
Got it.
We did add additional some monies for our PIO in there, but that's basically still moving money within our budgets to meet the 5% reduction.
What we basically did is we looked at historically what we had come to y'all and asked to transfer from one line item to another because we were coming up short in one line item, but we had excess in the other. So we just basically took in-house plans, like she said, we took some of that money now and moved it to those lines where we thought we were going to need it so that we don't have to come back to you and do a budget transfer this coming fiscal year.
Yeah, because the original budget was based for 250. It's 98 now, but okay.
I'll go to page 5 on the gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially today, right, when gas is up, and so that's a volatile cost. And this is one thing that we talked about with the mayor and Phoebe, and this is one of the areas that they asked us to look at in, reducing that. And the way it was explained to us is if those prices continue to increase and we have to come back at a later time, then that's something that would be permissible to do, but that was something they wanted us to look at cutting on the front end. We had no idea that we'd be facing the increases we've seen in the last few weeks.
14 days.
Be glad they're not diesel.
Along that line, any change internally, we say with policies or procedures? So instead of deputies sitting there with their vehicles running, or
As it would relate to the gasoline, so, and to the point of the cars running, you can't cut the cars off, because if you do, you gotta reboot the computers. And everything we do is based on that computer with CAD, RMS, GPS, everything that they do, that's kind of like the brains of the vehicle. And so we can't cut those vehicles off. They have to continuously run.
Okay.
Clearly, if the weather's bad, we ask those folks to find a visible spot to park, be visible to the public, and remain stationary in a general area that they can respond to, wherever they need to go. Same with doing reports. If you're doing a report, park in a visible area where people can see you doing that. High visibility is very important for deterring crime. But, to the extent that we need to be patrolling and doing our job, then we're not asking them to cut back on.
That's interesting. There's not like a battery system that it would be able to operate without the vehicle running? Like radios?
Barry, you
like-
want to speak to that?
I can help a little. There's so much electronics in there that you sit there on accessory, it wouldn't live very long.
Yeah.
And then the other side of your animals, you can't turn them off with the canines in. They have to have, they can't get hot, super cold, or whatever, so that kind of has to be maintained. So, you could do it for very short periods of time, but then they're gonna spend more time getting things back up and running if it went down, if the battery went down, or whatever, So in the long run, it's better if they can just sit there and run, so the electrical system of the car can keep everything up and live and running.
Anything you want to add about how you want to install that?
That's what he said.
Okay.
Basically, we used to do kill switches, but it's the same thing he's saying. If you turn that off, it takes forever for to get everything back and running. So
So you run it all off the 12 volt? You aren't doing any sort of lithium ion add-on, anything like that in the car?
Do they make battery packs for that?
not that I've ever seen. That.
Hell, I think it's just cost of doing business. I mean, it is what it is. And the driving business. Go drive around, stop some crime. Rest in peace. Keep crime rate low.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions from that, from citizens about that, is why do you leave the cars running? Deputies not in, why you leave the cars running? We get that all the time. and we have to explain to them. Same thing we just kind of conveyed to y'all. You know, it's just, it is, it's the cost of doing business, and it's how we stay functional, given all the technology and equipment in that vehicle.
Speaking of gasoline, and you've got the helicopter fuel or aviation fuel, where was that prior?
What was that price?
Where was I don't see it in last year's budget number
We
there.
figure that in, and gasoline altogether, the
That is,
aviation
yeah,
fuel.
the 60,000 has been continued to be in there year over year in the
Okay.
total.
Yeah,
I
we-
just didn't see an actual or a budget for it for last year, I suppose.
Yeah, it's always combined with the full gasoline line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the maintenance line item for aviation, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, we haven't increased that. That stayed at 150 for,
Yes.
well, ever since I've been in office. I don't know the last time they may have increased it, but we haven't done anything with that.
Okay. Any other questions concerning this part of the budget for the sheriff?
Not really, just appreciate you guys. I know working through some pretty tight constraints. Like along the lines of gasoline, is there any other line item in here that you have some concerns, like serious concerns about potentially having to come to us back for?
Yes, the short answer is yes. You know, I personally feel like that, 5% of my budget is tough to get to, cutting 5% of my budget, because I don't think that we, outside of vacancies on the personnel side, that you always are gonna have money that you return back, or capital projects where vehicles may come in less than what you budgeted them for. I don't see us, having a lot of fluff in there. I think over the last couple of years that I've been looking at it, I've really been drilling down into what our needs are and not our wants. And so I'm concerned. I expressed to the mayor that I'm concerned, next year, we may have to come back and ask for some budget transfers, either within line items or from the fund balance. But I can't sit there and tell you that with certainty. We're gonna do everything we can to stay within budget. But clearly I have concerns that life happens. And, I just don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I know that we have been very diligent in trying to work within our budget every year. And this year, we're gonna have to work a little harder. This coming year, we're gonna have to work a little harder.
Well, I guess this is your opportunity. Is it one or two specific line items that you want us
Yeah.
just to be aware of that create concern?
Gasoline, obviously, I think is one that we just don't know, but no, I think we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Okay.
I got one last question. So last year, we did a commission passed a monumental resolution, in my opinion, to get everybody up to 75th percentile. I don't know that went according to plan for a lot of the deputies. My question is, with the 4%, does that even cover the cost of living these days? Or no?
Well, I would defer to Phoebe on that. I will tell you this, and to your comment about how it went for the deputies. The problem with the salary study, as it was reported back to us, did not take into account prior experience. And so what I did at mid-year, meeting with Phoebe and the mayor, is I went back and took money that I had available within my budget and I adjusted to account for prior experience. So I was able to increase the salaries of deputies that did not get any consideration that came here with prior experience. And so we were able to readjust those salaries and make it more fair to those with more experience. Now, there's always going, because it's based on time and grade. And so if you get promoted, then your time and grade starts all over again, and people have a hard time understanding that. Or if they started in the jail and then they came over to roadside, their time and grade starts over again. So they don't maybe necessarily understand why they're not getting credit for their tenure in the jail counted toward their prior experience. But we did it in concert with Claire and the HR department, and the response I had from the deputies was really positive. And I think that overall, we put together a pay plan based on true experience, and going forward, we're now hiring people and able to reward them with the experience that they come with. So we're getting more qualified applicants. Today I interviewed a police officer from the Metro Nashville Police Department, retired, younger than I am, and is coming to work for us, bringing his 20 years experience, and I can plug him in, not at the starting pay for a police officer in his pay grade, but I can start him at a pay grade, or at a pay rate up to,
4066.
well, no, the years of experience, 13?
13.
13 years of experience is the most I can offer anybody, because that was the cap in the salary survey, because units only went back to 2015. So nobody got consideration beyond 13 years.
Yeah, I think that's a problem in itself too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we've done really well. And as you know, we've recently hired 4 officers from Brentwood, which the starting pay I was able to offer them was higher than what they were making at Brentwood.
My concern though, Jeff, excuse me to interrupt, but
Sure.
all Brentwood's gonna do is just pass a resolution next year to come back.
And they're already working on it.
Right, 100%.
They're already working on it.
I was hoping that this commission, we can come back at 80% and keep going up till we get to where they need to be.
Well, obviously, that would be our hope too, but
Right.
I don't think the budget allows for that, is what I'm understanding, so.
Yeah, we'll just keep kicking the can down the road. Does a 4% give a, what, cost of living? I mean, is it staying up with the cost of living?
The state is projecting a cost of living of 2.7. Now, obviously around here, I think it was a little bit higher when the HR director presented to the budget committee. I think she was quoting a little bit higher, closer to 5, to keep that 75th percentile. And the budget committee recommended 4.
Unfortunate. So I guess the answer is, from the HR point of view, 4% around here doesn't keep up the cost of living.
Not speaking for her, but she did make a report, and I think to keep the 75th, she was projecting a little bit higher.
She had communicated to me, based on, I think, the consultant's recommendation, that it was somewhere between 7 and 9% to maintain that.
Wow. So we give the guys and girls up to 75th percentile, and the next year we play smoke and mirrors and take it away from them. That's BS. So, my opinion.
All right, any more questions about this first section? We can do this one by one, or do we do it as a whole?
Vote on them each, please.
Okay, so concerning 54-110, all in favor of approving that? Huh? Oh, we have a,
Motion.
oh, we didn't.
Second.
Thank you, Diane. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next up, 54-130, traffic control.
Okay, this is the 54130, which you have in front of you there. Really not a lot to talk about here, other than to say that we cut that by 5% to meet the guidelines.
Any questions, Commissioner? Bill, we're on the second section, page 101.
Can I discuss something there with y'all? I just want to put this on your radar. And it's something we talked about with the mayor and Phoebe, and we have almost $377,000 there in this budget that is almost exclusively for crossing guards, which we have a tremendous really hard time filling and keeping people, because nobody wants to work for an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon and then just twiddle their thumbs all day long till the afternoon comes around. It's a very, very hard job to fill and maintain. So we've been working with the school system and had some traction that they were interested in, to where we cut this money out of our budget and asked them to fund crossing guards, and then use the staff that they have on location to go out there for the short period of time to direct the traffic in the mornings and in the afternoons, whether it be with school, however they chose to do that. Now, so, you know, I understand we can't just say, okay, we take this $377,000 from here and we move it over to the school budget. It's got to go through some whole other process. But we had some traction with the school on doing that. But it's my understanding, I think, because the teachers make more than what we pay crossing guards for, we pay them $20 an hour, that it would cost more to do it that way, even though we would probably serve our citizens better. So I don't know how we accomplish that, but I think that's a really good solution. Because I get complaints, I know y'all get complaints about the lack of crossing guards. And we can't, our hands are tied. We can't put anybody out there. We can't staff it to get anybody out there. And this might be a better solution for trying to solve that problem. So moving forward, I think we need to look at that and how we fund that on the school side and take it out of the sheriff's budget.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with Publix paying more than $20 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
As part-time employees, all of the crossing guards are part-time employees. You know, you're basically paying them for a couple hours a day.
So let me ask you, do you employ any teachers currently as crossing guards?
No.
Because, is that because administratively you'd be required to pay them at what they're making now?
Well, I don't know how that would work from hiring a full-time employee in a part-time position, you know, because they're getting paid by the schools full-time. And then if we offered to, it'd kind of be like double dipping, I would think. And, you know, I really don't know how that, what that would look like.
The school
Yeah,
before, the crossing guard needs to be out there before they get off work at school.
gotcha, yeah.
Phoebe, I know this in your realm, but say you take a teacher that's the volleyball coach. Like there's some stipend that gets paid to them for being that coach. It's not necessarily
is.
paid at whatever their hourly
Right,
rate
coaches
is,
get
right?
additional, correct.
Why couldn't this just operate in the same manner?
It possibly could. I will go ahead and share with you from my last conversation with them. They're already struggling to meet their budget now without adding new employees and new hours. So if we choose to put more on them, then we also are going to need to look at funding and passing on those pennies over to them, because currently my understanding is they're struggling to even meet this year's budget. But yes, we could.
But if we took the $370,000 from the sheriff and gave it to the schools,
No, sir, I can't. I have to move pennies. I can't move money from a general fund to a school general fund, general purpose school fund.
What would prevent, say, the sheriff's department from advertising to our school employees
I
about
don't,
a stipend type of opportunity for taking on this, and we treat it just like a coaching position, basically, right?
right. We would have to reflect them as a school employee and a county employee, though. You would have to run through two different payrolls. We do not, our payrolls do not run collectively. So they would have to show up on both payrolls. So that would have to be different. We couldn't do just a stipend, then it would be an hourly rate. So it would be the same process. We would just have to show them as county and school employee.
Is that a problem? Because, I mean, we've got employees on the payroll already as crossing guards. Does it really matter whether they're on both payroll systems?
If they want the job, I'm sure it would just be like picking up a part-time job for them.
Have you ever had that discussion with the school system?
Never
about-
have, that's,
about
I'm
approaching
glad you
it.
brought that up. I mean, maybe that's something to consider. I just kind of thought of it as maybe being a conflict of interest or a double dipping or something like that, but I didn't think of it in terms of an addition or a stipend, if you will. So I think that's something we can have more conversations about, because we need to find some solutions on how to staff these crossing guards. It's important for the safety of the kids.
I imagine there's some younger teachers out there that don't have family obligations yet that wouldn't mind staying an extra hour or arriving an hour early, you know. I guess only probably, unless that conflicts with the school schedule, I guess that could be a challenge. If class starts before the school, the crossing guard is released, that might be an issue, but.
Yeah, it wouldn't be for everybody, but it might be for somebody, I don't know. Something to think about. Just wanted to throw it out there, that we're trying to think outside the box.
Right.
To solve this problem.
So is there situations that we're having now where we don't have crossing guards at some schools because of this?
Oh, yeah, more, we have, yeah, there's probably more schools that don't have a crossing guard
Well,
than
there's
schools
schools
that
right
do.
by where I live, and there's always crossing guards out there, and I always manage to be driving by there when the school either lets in or lets
So
out.
I think we have 11 of 37 spots filled.
Is
we
that
budgeted
right?
for.
Okay, and we're spending $368,000?
Well, we're not spending it because we don't fill it.
Okay. All right. So is that money accumulating?
It comes back to the general fund.
Oh, it goes back to the general
Yeah.
fund, but it can't go from the general fund to the school fund?
Right.
There's no way to have that happen?
Nope.
Okay, all right. All right. Yeah, that's an interesting conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
Separate budgets.
I think we'll continue to have more conversations about that and try to brainstorm
Yeah, you just
a
think,
solution.
God,
Commissioners, any other questions on 54-130? May I get a motion to approve 54-130?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Move on to jail, 54-210, jail and corrections.
Correct. And so, again, working from the last page back, if you'll look at page 5 of 5, and if you'll notice that the total operations, everything excluding the medical cost has been cut to get us to the 5% reduction, much like the contract with the Axon project on the roadside. That is a number that fluctuates, that we almost always have to come back to y'all for more money on the medical side, and Carol's here, she can speak to that. Chad's behind me, he can speak to it. Carol, any idea what we're looking at this year, or do you have any, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I know we're gonna run out. I do know that.
Yeah.
We've got we've had some pretty sick people here recently. We had to have somebody, in the last few weeks, had to have retina surgery. So we're having weird things coming our way here lately.
Anywhere between 200 and 500.
Somewhere between 200 and 500.
Yeah.
So, what I'm proposing here is an operating budget that is cut 5%, knowing that the medical will still be something that we'll have to address through a budget transfer to pay for
you're talking about the medical for the inmates?
the inmates.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What was it, 2 years ago, and that was 2 million, what was it last year? I can't
Last year
remember.
actually was 2.4.
2.4.
That was last year.
2.4
Okay,
million.
yeah, and we budgeted like 800 originally or something like that.
My son.
And so aside from that, if you work your way backwards, page 1 through 4, really all you see is housekeeping, the same as on the roadside, where we're moving things from one line item to another to cut our budget by 5% to get us to those guidelines. Happy to answer any questions about any line items.
Mr. Chair, may I add one thing?
Yes,
Again,
ma'am.
with the medical dental, we agreed with the sheriff that that's kind of hard to cut and include that in the 5%. So when we calculated the 5%, we took that out. So I took the original budget and reduced it by that line item before calculating the 5%. So that reduced the amount that we were asking them to cut to meet that, because we agreed that there's no way you can cut something that's that standard. So the 5% was calculated after we removed that line item.
Yeah.
So what they cut from their budget is, that's why on page 5, you will see total operations only being cut by 2.8%. And that's why we did not ask them to include that number to get the 5%, because that is a tough sell.
Thank you, Phoebe. That's what I was trying to explain, and I probably didn't do as good a job as you did.
She's done it once or twice more than you have. That's all right. All right. I'll ask again. Any questions, Commissioners? Hearing none, may I get a motion to approve
Motion.
54-210?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, passes unanimously. We will move on to 54-220 Workhouse Litter Crew.
Okay, this is, our litter, crew in the grant, and so the number on the back, much like Phoebe just explained, we've cut that 5%, excluding the instructional supplies and materials, which you see on page 1. That was not, taken into account to get that operating budget below 5%.
Yeah, that line, if I may, the line is fully funded by the grant. So that is the litter grant. It doesn't say litter grant down there, but that is the litter grant.
So you're talking 54-2900?
Yes, sir.
Sheriff,
So we took that out.
how often are these people going out to clean up the roads?
Every day. Even in inclement weather, Chad?
Yeah, for the most part, in weather, as long as it's not too cold. I mean, if it drops below about 35 degrees, they normally don't go out, but, they do their best to juggle between picking up trash, and they also have now picked up working with, the yard crew, so they maintain, the yard around the jail, some county buildings, the cemeteries, and then some of the tower sites as well throughout the county, so they go out there and weed eat, mow, do all that stuff, so we don't have to pay for that through that.
And I'm sure y'all probably get some feedback on that, but I get lots of compliments from people that see them out picking up trash and cleaning up our cemeteries. And, I'll note that this coming Saturday, they'll be in Leapers Fork. We've got the Trasher Size, event that happens annually, and I spent about half a day out there with them last year, and I can't remember how many tons of garbage we picked up. Do you remember off the top of your head? It was a bunch. It was a bunch, but we're back out there, the litter crew. Our personnel will be back out there helping with that again this Saturday.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Yeah, I'm just curious, I'm looking at the gasoline, I know it's not a whole lot, but, last year it was 10,000, and now it's 23,725. This seems like a big jump. I don't know, why is that?
He's talking about the
Just out of
gasoline.
curiosity.
It's showing, you're looking at the total gasoline there. So he's looking at the gasoline line item.
Yeah.
Showing, going from, he's talking about.
Well,
here to
well, you're looking at actual versus budget.
Yeah.
So depending on their activity on the road, that gasoline is the true what they spent.
Yeah, so Commissioner Petty, I think the 10,000 you're referring to is what's actually been spent this year, to date, compared to what was budgeted. And, we're more than halfway through the second, half of the fiscal year. So yeah, we're probably trending to come in a little under there, it looks like, depending on, but as the weather gets prettier, they'll probably use more gas, especially with the cost the last few weeks. It's probably gonna be substantially more.
So maybe I misunderstood. I thought LY was last year, actual.
That's
And
fiscal
then
24.
CY is
It's
current
fiscal
year,
24.
original budget and revised budget.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not understanding.
And you are correct. That is
Okay.
the actual that came in last year.
Yeah, okay, that was
So
actual.
it is that's not
Yes,
the,
sir.
okay, my apologies.
No, that is, the first column is the last year, and then the current year is original. We maintained, the sheriff, if I may, Jennifer, maintained and did not reduce or increase the gasoline line for the litter at this point. Because again, not knowing what's going on with the current prices.
Yeah,
We all thought it was, and I fully agree with Jennifer not reducing that, because at this point we have no idea. So we may use all 23 this year, we may not. And whatever does not fall, of course, it just falls back into general fund so that we can pull those funds again in the next year.
I was just wondering, you know,
Yeah.
it's over twice as much as the year before, so I was just curious why there's quite a little spike there.
Any other questions, commissioners? Hearing none, may I get a motion to approve 54-220?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Next up, Drug Control Fund, Drug Enforcement, 54-150.
And that doesn't fall under the same guidelines as the other budgets, and so there's just no change in that budget at all. It's coming back flat.
I'm proud of you on that one, Sheriff, that's good.
How about that?
It is one of our self-supporting grants, or self-supporting funds, so that's why we did not
Okay.
reduce it by 5%, because he obviously has to make it's balanced by revenue.
Yeah.
All right, so that's an easy one for us to approve, I believe. All in favor of approving?
Motion.
Oh, sorry. I want to go home, can you tell? All in favor of passing this, approving 54-150, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None, passes unanimously. We are now at 54-110,
Yeah.
capital budget.
Capital budgets. Anything, we'll look at 2027, everything beyond that is kind of like the 5-year capital plan. It's really just numbers on paper and not something that we necessarily will come back with next year as it's printed here. So if you just focus on 2027, the $1,180,000 is for the second half of the portable radios that y'all approved to replace last year. So in this current fiscal year, rather, you replaced the first half of those radios, and now we're asking you to replace the second half in this coming year out of the capital budget. On the fleet side of that, we have worked really hard to
We have to.
manage the inventory of our vehicles and where we stand with the total number of vehicles and how many that we want to look at replacing every year. And we've, tried to absorb some vehicles that we might have otherwise budgeted for in years past by utilizing vehicles that we already had in-house. And so what I want to point out is this number this year is to replace 28 vehicles, and 25 of those are for fleet, and we lost 6 vehicles this current year in accidents. And we're only proposing, we'll receive money from risk management, but it won't replace the cost of a vehicle. So if a vehicle's total, we only get the value of the vehicle. We don't get what it would cost to replace the vehicle. So rather than ask for 6 vehicles that we lost, we're only asking for 3, in addition to 25 to replace the older vehicles within our fleet. And of those, let's see here. I want to say, I have a breakdown of how many were marked and how many were unmarked. Do you remember, do you have that
I
number there?
do not have that.
I got it in my
I think there was 12 marked, 16 marked, 12 unmarked. Pretty sure.
Yeah, so we have 280 total vehicles, and we're looking to replace 12 of our unmarked vehicles and 16 of our marked vehicles, for a total of 28. That equates to 10% of our fleet. So if you take that number and you look long range at, okay, we're going to anticipate replacing 10% of our fleet every year, then we're expecting the life of that vehicle to last for 9 years. That's a little bit unrealistic, but that's where we're at. And so to ask for any less than that wouldn't be prudent. And to ask for any more than that, I think we need to just continue to monitor that going forward and make sure that we're not getting in a position to where we have cars out there that are either a maintenance problem or have extremely high mileage on them. So I think what I instructed Rodney to do is basically, let's look at the oldest vehicles we have and let's replace those. And we take the we take the vehicles from patrol and transfer them over to SROs because they're parked at the schools for the majority of the day. And we put the newer cars in patrol where those guys are dependent on that every day to get out there on the road. And the unmarked cars, we're talking about detectives, we're talking about narcotics, and folks like that we have to replace those vehicles periodically as well. So that's an extremely conservative number, and the reality is that number may be a little high because the unmarked cars will cost less than the marked cars. So, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable that if we don't spend that money, it will just carry forward. So I'm really happy with where we are on our vehicle inventory and how we're tracking that now. I think that we do have to really monitor that so that we don't get to where we're depending on a car to last us 9 years, though. That's unrealistic.
What do you, I'm sorry, I apologize. What, if you're gonna take a patrol and move it to an SRO, what do you predict that life to be? And I know it's hard to say, I'm just saying for an average.
Are you talking about for an SRO?
Yeah, if it's gonna go from patrol to SRO.
Much longer than it would be for a patrol deputy. So, for example, if you look at our patrol fleet right now, they generally have somewhere between, correct me if I'm wrong, Rodney, but somewhere between 40 and 60,000 miles on them. So we'll take that vehicle and we'll put that over to an SRO, which is gonna last twice as long, year-wise, than it would be for a road deputy. So we'll give them a new car, and then these SROs will get those with higher mileage that should last twice as long as somebody in patrol.
Okay, so 40 to 60,000 is a year, 2 years, what is that for a patrol?
That's roughly 2.
2 years? So you should be able to then get 4 years with an SRO with it and make a 6-year life of that vehicle? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my experience in dealing with budgets related to fleet is most folks project the life of a vehicle to be 5 years. Clearly, that's not an absolute because you got to have a button seat. So a lot of times a car's sitting idle if you don't have a position to fill that car. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of things that go into that, and you can move that out a year, move it back a year, depending on where you're standing with your staffing. So yeah, it's something that we've come leaps and bounds with our vehicle fleet and the inventory and how we're managing that, and so I give those kudos to Chief King and his staff for the job that they're doing with our fleet.
His head's gonna get big.
Hey Jeff, I know you and I, we talked probably in the last summer about fleet management. There's probably an opportunity there to tighten. Mm-hmm. I would love, here's the challenge with vehicles every year, mm-hmm. is there's a lot of subjectivity to it, right? Mm-hmm. One commissioner is gonna look at it and go, oh, why don't you just extend your vehicles out? Right. The other one's gonna be like, no, we should give you guys whatever you want, right? And the reality is you wanna manage the fleet to standards. Mm-hmm. And so if we can all agree to what the standards are and the metrics are, mm-hmm. right? So, I think we discussed earlier, mileage on the vehicle may not be the accurate metric for the patrol vehicles because they do idle so much.
I agree.
So maybe it's hours, right? Mm-hmm. But if there's a standard, if you look at total cost of ownership of any vehicle in any fleet, mm-hmm. regardless of whether it's a vehicle or a forklift, your cost, you have planned obsolescence at some point because the cost to maintain it starts to exceed the actual value of the vehicle, right? And there's certain standards and there's planned maintenance periods that you have along that way. And you want to man to that point of planned obsolescence, like to maintain it is now more expensive than what it's actually worth. I would love at some point in a committee meeting to have a discussion and potentially stack hands on what those standards are. Because I would love to remove the subjectivity around vehicles out of it.
Yeah, I welcome that.
And just say, here's the standard. Mm-hmm. Here's the hours of the vehicle we all agreed to. 100,000 hours, whatever it might be. I've got 30 vehicles that have superseded that, right? And if that's the standard, then we do it to the standard.
Yeah.
But I encourage you at some point in this committee to come back with that.
I welcome that, thank you.
The next line down, the motorcycle concerns me.
Yeah, so you want me to talk to that?
Well, I know that we used to get one or two from Harley for $1.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
I'm
cheaper
gonna,
than a BMW.
yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna let, Chief King, well, you got a lot more knowledge about that.
I think for microphone, yes, sir.
Yeah, why don't you come up here and talk about that?
Mind you, I rode an Indian, so I don't have a game in this.
So you were asking about the lease versus buying?
Well, yeah, I mean, we got them for what, $1, I thought it was in the
Yeah,
past.
the lease actually set for $1. The upfit and the maintain, the hours inspection, the mileage inspection, the upfit to the bike, you ran about $15,000 to $16,000 on that per bike for the first year. So originally it wasn't $1. It was you're spending $16,000 on these bikes per year. You keep them 2 years, you can buy one less than that for a 2-year time that you had them. We surplused them out, we gave them back after a 2-year lease, I believe, and we got other ones, but they had to take everything off that bike, which cost $7,000 to take it off, put it back on this one for 15. So you're looking at $22,000 you spent on that bike that you bought. We could buy a new one for 23. So when we bought the bikes, because of low mileage on the bikes also, so year 4 of that, we ended up buying those 2 lease bikes for, was it $16,000 or $17,000 for those 2 bikes a piece? We're able to buy 2 more at $22,000 or $23,000 new. And that's because they didn't ride them as much, and the mileage of them is, we were wasting more money leasing them than we would buying them and keeping them for a long period of time. That's why we chose to buy.
So talk to him just a little bit, Rodney, about, we've got 4 bikes now, but one of them has been wrecked.
Yes.
And we're looking to trade 4 in for 3.
We have 4 total. One was wrecked in a motor school, and it was going to cost an astronomical amount to fix it because something was bent on it. So we used it as a training bike, just for somebody to come in. It wasn't roadworthy, but it was still good for training and getting through the schools. They're wanting to trade those 4 bikes in for 3 operable bikes and not have the 4th one. Right now, we only have 1 rider that's certified that still rides it. We still have 2 more personnel that are certified to ride them, but they're in different divisions now, so they don't come back and ride.
And so we got one coming on board that we just hired.
Yes, the guy. So they're wanting 3 for that. I actually have a meeting with this guy in the morning about this, about the trade-in. I don't know if the cost, I haven't discussed any of these numbers with the actual guy, so I don't know if the cost is, I was told that they come upfitted with lights and everything on them, but I don't think it'd be to our specs of a motor that we need to put on the street. I saw a video, very low lightage on this bike. I wouldn't feel safe to, what we have is triple lights what they have on the bikes now, getting them from that. So I don't know where that cost, what this money cost lies for that. If it says needs 80,000 for that, is that for the bikes only? Is that the upfit also? I don't know any answers to that yet. So I'll know that tomorrow morning.
And the BMWs are a better bike, cheaper to maintain. I can't believe a BMW is cheaper to maintain, but
the way I was told, and I was kind of brought in after the fact that they've already had meetings with these guys. I think ground clearance if ground clearance is one thing for these bikes over the Harleys. I don't know what that entails for the county, what you need ground clearance for. I don't know if they're more off-road too. Also, I don't know the answers to that.
Why were they looking at why were they looking at BMWs over Harleys? I know there was a lot of discussion about that.
I wasn't privy to that.
Okay.
That was done, and then I was told that that's what we were doing.
Okay.
from, from the motor guys.
Did Franklin go to BMWs?
Franklin had BMWs,
Uh-huh.
did not like them, went to Harleys after we went to Harleys.
Do you?
We have 7 to 13,000 miles on these bikes that we have.
Mhm.
Could they last a couple more years? They could. I feel they could, because we don't ride them as much. But I was brought in after the fact, so I really don't know what that plan looks like.
Well, it sounds to me like, we'll know more information tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And we'll, whatever y'all direct us to do, we'll do as it relates to the motorcycles. We'll follow we're proposing to replace the 4 with a 3, and like Chief King said, we'll have more information after meeting with them tomorrow, but if y'all want us to look at something different, we'll be happy to.
You just gather the information tomorrow and we'll go from there, my opinion.
On that one, yeah, that just,
And you as a motorcycle rider may have more knowledge. I mean, I'm not a motorcycle rider. I don't know the,
So just a question.
I don't talk motorcycle.
well, I have no idea what's required for a.
Right, sure.
But what are we using the bikes for?
And these
Sheriff's
bikes, these bikes, the new ones, I don't know what the compartments will look like. I don't know I've seen a video of one. They're gonna have to change some compartments on that to make our MDTs work on there. The radios, all that stuff goes in compartments. I don't know what that looks like yet until he can just lay it out and show me everything. But we use our bikes for patrol. One guy, he rides his more than anybody. Well, he's the only rider now, but he rides it a lot. He does proactive patrol with that. We use them with parades. We use them for funerals, officers' funerals. They travel all over the state for that. Just different things.
Parade, special events.
Yeah.
All of those types of things.
I know they did the Destin Legaza ride. We had a couple of that, so. Okay.
So you mentioned the upfit on the Harleys was like $16,000.
It was a lot of money on that because Harley would not upfit. They upfit them the first time, but they weren't used to the police world, so everything didn't work right. So when we started going to our own upfit people, they were doing them right. Then Harley continued working on anything they had with them except motor issues. Any fuses or anything, they would quit working on them. So that's why we kind of just bought them outright. Then they're ours, and then we can do whatever we want to with them because we were under that contract with that dollar lease.
And that's kind of weird because it says the upfit for these BMWs is $7,500, and it's
They come with blue lights on them, but there's 4 in the back and 2 on the front. I see that we need a lot more lights than that, but I don't know what.
But was that dollar lease program a little bit of a bait and switch a little bit? Did it require us to have to go back to them to do the service? I mean,
What it was on the lease, once we had them leased for 2 years, we had to service them there. But once we bought them out, we took them to the other Harley shops. We couldn't take it to a different Harley shop than other ones we leased it from. We had to take it back for them. Go for a tune-up or a oil change or whatever, we may have left that bike there for a week and a half before we got it back. Columbia Harley got it in and got it out the same day. We kind of pick and choose our own battles there with that. So
okay.
It just helped us in the long run. It cost us a whole lot less in the long run, owning the bikes.
I imagine you don't put the same hours on the bikes that you put on the other vehicles either.
No.
Which it goes back to fleet management too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a break-even point between leasing and owning, depending on the usage that goes on to it. And it would make sense to buy bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other questions on my favorite thing in the world of motorcycles? All right, thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. You're next.
Yeah, the next thing is a heliwagon, and you might ask yourself, what is a heliwagon? And that's why Chief King is staying up here. He's going to tell you about that.
Heliwagon is a portable wagon, not a portable wagon, but it's a smaller landing pad that you can land the helicopter on and the landing pad, and you can roll it into the building. Right now we have lifts for the helicopters to pick the skids up off the ground and roll it in. Just Monday or Friday, we were moving that they clamp on the skids on the bottom. Those clamps are actually tearing all the paint, the skids up. They bent one of the skids. One of the clamps came off the other day, moving the helicopter outside so they could repaint the helipad and right in front of the building. One popped off, broke the step to the helicopter. You're looking at a whole new skid system, whole new step, which could cost $25,000 for that. We had an extra skid with a part on it. We actually fixed it. There was no damage to the helicopter, no landing or any issues with the skids. It was just a step. So we were able to fix that, but that clamp came off of it when it should not have. This is, you just land it on this heli wagon and you'll roll it right back in the building. You never have to damage any paint, any kind of parts of the helicopter with that. Because it's just a flat little platform that you roll back and forth.
And for those of y'all that don't know or haven't been up to the special ops building, we keep our helicopters inside. And we literally move these things out when we're gonna fly them, and we move them back in when we're through flying them. So that's done manually with the assistance of these things that.
The lifts stay on them all the time until we're ready to fly, because we have to move them out so quick sometimes, so they're always clamped to them.
How many flight hours each year you put on the helicopters?
What's that?
How many flight hours are happening on the helicopter?
I'd have to go back and check with that. They run about 10 to 12 hours a week, probably 15 hours a week, maybe. That's training flights and patrol flights. I can go back and pull a monthly stat for you if we need that, so.
Just curious.
They fly them every day. That's our patrols and training. We have 3 pilots in training. We have 2 certified pilots now. We actually got one that's going into a trainer school so he can be certified trainer at TFI 4, so he can give ourselves a check ride. We'll save the county a whole lot of money sending these people to schools and sending them to flight instructors to get certified. So we're going to have an in-house guy.
Then what about your fuel tank and trailer? Same thing?
Yeah,
Easier, better?
the fuel trailer we're asking for, we have a small fuel tank we pull behind on a wagon. We pull it with the tractor. It's a small tank. It's an open top tank. It's one that we acquired somewhere, somehow back in the day. I'm not sure where we got it. It has a TSE pump on the front that leaks all the time, and it takes forever to fill the helicopter up. The one we're asking for is a portable trailer tank that we can pull out to the helicopter, pull back into the shed we got, and has a aviation fuel pump on it. Actually, it's actually an aviation tank and pump. Okay. It's not one that we manufactured to make work. There was talks about having a permanent tank mounted to the ground. Unless it's a 6,000 gallon or greater, they won't deliver fuel there for that. And it has to be regulated every month, has to be surveyed every month, EPA every month, and we just want a portable. We have a tanker truck that we go get fuel from airports. That's an old fire truck that we reacquired for that. We get that, bring it to the place. That pump on the back of that to fuel it will not fit on that wagon. It's just an old pump. It's leaking, so it's not even serviceable. We just use it to fill up the tank.
All right, thank you.
And along the aviation line, I want to take a minute just to thank the Department of Safety and Commissioner Long specifically, because we did have a request in here for a new FLIR that was going to cost us over $1 million. And we are very fortunate that the state is going to sell us one at a very reduced price of about $250 maybe. So we'll have a brand new FLIR that will save us an enormous amount of money that you wouldn't know about if I didn't tell you. So
New to us, but not brand new, right?
it's brand new. My understanding it's brand new, correct?
It's not brand new.
Oh,
It's not brand. It's
bust my bubble.
It's about 4 generations newer than ours that they took. They got 2 brand new helicopters that came off their newer one that they had. It came off that helicopter when they surplused it in case one of theirs goes down. We spoke to him the other day. He said he could sell it. The state has issues with that too also. But it's ours until we get ready to get rid of it. We can't sell it. We have to give it back to them, basically. And we'll keep it until it runs out.
So I stand corrected. It is new to us.
Yeah.
And will save us from purchasing a new one,
Yeah.
which would have been over $1 million.
Yeah. The other one's about 1.4 million, I believe. I think that's what it was.
Gotcha.
250 sounds good. Thank you. Next up, MDTs.
Okay, these last items, I'm gonna ask Barry Martin, our IT director, you mind coming up to the podium here? These are, IT related things for the sheriff's office, and Barry is gonna explain those to you, starting with the MDTs.
The MDTs, which are the mobile data terminals for what's in the patrol cars, we try to rotate them out every 5 years because a computer, basically after 5 years, we've about wore it out. They've wore it out, pulling it in and out, battery's bad. Plus these are end of life, Windows 10, need to move to Windows 11. This is a replacement in all the patrol vehicles and warrants. And some of the supervisors that have those, we're at the end of the 5 years. They're a ruggedized device that they can take in and out. They can take into the emergency room, magistrate's office. They can do the reports. They get CAD calls, run tags, several different things they can do. You know, on those.
I don't see a dollar amount.
It's on the previous
It's on the-
page.
yeah, it's on the very bottom of
I had to find it too.
the page break didn't probably know.
Barry, you'll talk about the VMware?
Yeah, you want to move on to that? The VMware renewal, our IT structure on our backbone is virtual. It uses VMware as the software that manages that. So basically you take one piece of hardware and run multiple servers virtually within that hardware. So you don't have to buy physical devices for each one of those. And this is a 3-year maintenance renewal basically for this, which includes updates, support, any issues we have when we call in, gets us support, licensing, updates it for 3 more years. That's backbone of our whole infrastructure. Everything runs off of this. So we kind of try to keep it as top notch as I can, keep it solid so we don't have any troubles.
And Active Directory?
The
Controllers?
the domain controllers are basically like the guard keepers to the network. So anybody that has a computer or whatever has policies, anything that gets changed on it, that's a central location for that to happen. The PCs communicate back to that. That's where all the users are maintained, the security for the users, permissions. There's 2 of these. They replicate to each other for redundancy. One goes down, the other one picks up. You don't even see the failover. So we haven't upgraded those in a while because Microsoft tends to put out just little tidbits of updates on their next ones. But we've been running that pretty good while. We need to look at moving into the newer version of that.
Is your backup over at the EOC? Do you have a site there at the EOC?
We do 3 different. A shadow copy, I do one in-house and also over at the public safety in their server farm.
Okay. Any more questions on the IT equipment, gentlemen? Perfect. Replacement vehicles.
That's going into the next year. That's going into 2027 there.
Or 28,
Yeah, 28.
right?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Commissioners, do you want to look through the rest of those pages and see if you have any questions on what's going on in 28 through 31? The vehicles seem pretty standard.
I have none.
again, that will likely change year to year depending on the needs of the organization. So they're more or less placeholders, but not anything that I can tell you with any confidence this year that we will actually need come next year. So that's where we stand on that.
I see here the Axon is listed in 2031, but not in any other year.
It probably just was not updated last year because the lease was asked for last year and it was if you recall, we had to approve that capital purchase. It was a $20 million lease over the life, and that probably was just not taken out of the system because now that is in operations.
Commissioners, any questions on those? None? We need to get an approval on this 5-year capital plan, correct? Can I get a motion for 5-year capital plan?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. What do we have left? Detention and litter.
We've already covered those.
That's just the lawnmower.
Oh, I'm sorry, the capital for, yeah, the capital.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
you're right. So, Chad, you want to speak to that?
It looks pretty self-explanatory, but
Pretty self-explanatory, but I'll let Chad speak to that.
So the current mowers, as we've discussed, the litter crew does a lot of mowing for the county, sheriff's office, tower sites, so on and so forth. They currently have 5 lawnmowers. One of them we purchased last year, or maybe the year before. 3 of them, from what I'm finding out, were given to us like 20 years ago. So we've been kind of band-aiding them along the way. They've got hundreds of or thousands of hours on them. Their cost is getting up there to replace and repair things. So we're asking for this money to replace or to purchase 3 brand new mowers to replace 4 of the old ones that we're currently using. So it'll give us 4 solid mowers for the next 20 years.
any questions, Commissioners?
Motion.
Second.
I guess we're done with motion. Approve for 4210 capital request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. That finishes that.
Motion to adjourn.
Any other things? Let me see a little agenda, make sure I'm not missing it. You took my agenda.
Does the highway department have any old mowers they can donate to replace the old mowers they gave you previously?
I don't know.
The prisoners deserve.
We're adjourned.
Go.
We're adjourned.